Hi guys, it's me Lewis, and today I'm here to do a little video regarding some interesting information about some of Sega's old IPs that might be making a return after decades upon decades of being, well, dead silent. Now, of course, people like me who have seen the Game Awards that came out just a few days ago, and of course people like me who have just completely lost our minds when we saw the reveals of, games such as Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, and Crazy Taxi, 5 games that we weren't expecting to come back, and boom, there you go. Sega just threw it right in our faces, and of course, people like me, again, we lost our shit. Which by the way, if you want to see me lose my shit, I'll put the link in the description down below if you guys want to check that out. Anyway, a few hours ago, there's been some recent leaks of some old IPs having their trademarks being renewed. Now, granted, companies do this to of course, obviously, prevent anyone from stealing the rights from their properties, their products and whatnot. Typical business shit, right? That's usually what they do. However, this is where things are starting to get interesting, because I think it's more than just renewing a license and calling it a day when it comes to Sega. I personally believe that they are actually going above and beyond to actually go back to their old library of games to revive, much more than just popular IPs that everyone knows and loves. For example, this image right here, as you can see, states the following. Of course, we have Jet Set Radio. Of course, we don't really need to talk about that. But when it comes to the 3 other games, we have Kid Chameleon, Altered Beast, and surprisingly, Eternal Champions. Now, let's start off with Kid Chameleon. Now, I have very little memories of this game because I was more of a Comic Zone and the Ooze type of kid back in the day when it came to some of Sega's Western IPs that they developed. But Kid Chameleon had a very interesting mechanic when it came to its 2D platformer. It was kind of like a where you collect these helmets and it gave you these unique abilities. For example, if you picked up the samurai helmets, you would obviously wield a sword and attack the enemies head on. A rhino helmet where you actually went full length to obviously charge through barricades or obstacles, and so on. Like the list goes on with those types of unique designs when it comes to wearing these different helmets when Kid Chameleon wields these powers. But if Sega's gonna make a new Kid Chameleon game with their new revival campaign of their old IPs, there's 3 different directions they can go with this. They can either stick to the traditional sense of keeping it as a 2D platformer to pay respects to the actual fan base who still loves Kid Chameleon to this day, or they can go a 3D platformer, which is similar to I would say Crash Bandicoot or Spyro, or they can go the open world route like Super Mario Odyssey or Sonic Frontiers. But the open world type of idea might be a little bit expensive for a game like Kid Chameleon, but I digress. But if Sega is willing to go that far back to bring back some of their most long forgotten yet underrated IPs like Kid Chameleon, which again still has a big fan base, then yeah, go for it. Make a new Kid Chameleon game, put it out there for people to enjoy and shit. It'll be great. Now let's talk Altered Beast. Now, this is a game that everyone had on their Sega Mega Drive or Genesis if you live in America. Everyone knows Altered Beast. Every Sega kid like me knows what this game is. Of course, the beat 'em up mechanics are kind of outdated, I guess you could say, to some aspects, but other than that, it's still a classic either way. People like me enjoyed playing this game where you can just beat up mummies and three-headed Cerberus wolves or whatnot. And of course, the most iconic thing about the game is the voice samples, such as "Rise from your grave" and "Welcome to your doom." This is a game that definitely needs that comeback. Now, speaking of comebacks when it comes to Altered Beast, Sega did attempt to try and bring this game back at one point. And if anyone who lives in Japan or Europe may remember this particular game being none other than Project Altered Beast. Now, Project Altered Beast, of course, wasn't exactly a great game. It could have been a great game if it weren't for the fact that the combat system was so goddamn slow and the story was boring as hell. So, when it comes to the revival of Altered Beast, I think, in my perspective, Sega's going to play it safe this time. They're not going to like do any attempts to remake Project Altered Beast, because I think that's completely thrown out the window. I think what they're going to do is they're going to go back to their original roots with the original Altered Beast game being of course a Greek themed type of scenario going on there. But when it comes to its genre, is it going to be a 3D beat 'em up like the 3D Streets of Rage game that we've seen at the Game Awards? Or are they going to stick to traditional 2D beat 'em ups? Like, who knows? They could go anywhere along those routes. Of course, the most important thing that they need to keep is the core mechanic of collecting these chrome orbs that turn you into the beast. For example, turning into a werewolf, a dragon, a bear, a rhino. You know, stuff like that. Hell, they can throw in a python, for I know, a giant human-sized python, for God's sake, or throw in a T-Rex, even though I'm going a bit overboard with that one. But hey, it could work. Like, go along with something like that. I think it would work. Hell, throw in a tiger. Wait. Oh, no, wait. There was a tiger in the original game. My bad. Sorry. Throw in what was that? Oh yeah, throw in a honey badger, which sounds a bit absurd, but hey, honey badgers are vicious motherfuckers. I'll say it right now. Throw a honey badger in there. That'd be great. Anyway, Altered Beast coming back as well. That would be a dream come true. I'd love to see how that'll play out. And hopefully in the future, we'll actually see where it'll take us with its genre. Will it go 3D? Will it go 2D? We'll see. We'll find out one out in the future. Now let's move on to the bread and butter of the video: Eternal Champions. Now, as many of you know, I am a fighting game nut, and Eternal Champions is no doubt one of my favourite fighting games from Sega. Like before Virtua Fighter was even a thing. And speaking of Virtua Fighter, Sega of Japan told Sega of America to cancel the final installment of Eternal Champions, being the final chapter, in order to let Virtua Fighter succeed instead. Which, don't get me wrong, I love Virtua Fighter, but Eternal Champions deserves to come back. People like me within the fighting game community have been screaming from the rooftops at Sega to bring this back for decades, and I mean decades on end. Something that the creator, Michael Laham, tried to do before he passed away, which, by the way, God bless his soul. But he also wanted to expand the universe and the lore of Eternal Champions by giving each character their own spin-off game. However, two of them managed to get theirs, being Larson Tyler and Shadow Yamato. But just a heads up, their games are dog shit. Don't play them. Like seriously, don't play them. They're that horrifically bad. Anyway, Eternal Champions has a lot of unique things about it, especially from the Sega CD version that I played first before playing the original game 20 years later. Interesting story, interesting characters, mechanics that competed with Street Fighter, and fatalities that competed with Mortal Kombat. It's something the series had and can do it again in a much bigger way that can make both Capcom and NetherRealm have a huge run for their own money. The only thing I will say is that if Sega wants to finish off Michael's work in the right way, my suggestion is that all characters must make a return at day one launch of the game itself. Well, day one of the game's launch, I say, sorry, my apologies. From the Eternal Champions, the Dark Champions, and of course the cancelled characters being the Infernals that never made it into the final chapter. And speaking of fatalities though, like they were extremely gory for its time, especially for a 16-bit graphic game. The developers actually cared about how to be really creative with their work. Like, they were brutal back in the day. But when it comes to its current mechanics from the previous two games, yeah, they don't hold up today, but like I said, they can easily rework that into something more better, like, obviously, compete with Street Fighter's mechanics, maybe something like the EX and V-Trigger and super moves and whatnot, something along those lines, maybe? But the story, however, it's got to obviously, pay respects to Michael's original, source material, as well as bring like some story elements from the comics. Like yes, Eternal Champions actually have their own little comic book special series that I actually own, by the way, that took me almost 12 years to find online, which wasn't that expensive. Trust me, it was an absolute nightmare to find. And speaking of Mortal Kombat, though, the franchise itself has barely had any proper competitors, and seeing that, Sega renewing the trademark for Eternal Champions could actually, again, make NetherRealm have a run for their money. And if I'm going to be honest with you, Mortal Kombat needs its competitors again, and Eternal Champions, in my opinion, is the perfect candidate. And that's all our time for, guys, so don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what are your thoughts on these Sega leaks. Are you excited for them? Are you looking forward to any other Sega IPs that the company might revive in the future? Do let me know in the comments. Okay, guys, peace out.